Silicon Valley. We're really very delighted to be hosting Honorable Representative Ms. Rita Jo Lewis and her assistant, the Deputy Director Rhonda Binda is also. Rhonda, where are you?
She's outside.
She's outside. Okay, she will come and join us. Okay. Okay. Okay, good. Thank you. And I want to really extend a very special thanks to Carol Mehta. Carol is the one who really was instrumental in bringing weekend. This is a very intimate gathering, so she told us to call her Rita, so I'm just going to address you as Rita. Now that I gave you your formal name. And Carol already worked very hard to bring, and so Carol, thank you very much. As you all know, Carol is a highly successful entrepreneur. He sold his last company, and we featured him at the My Story program over here, and he's now a senior executive at Visa. And Visa also, he plays double role because he's a Thai charter member, he's a successful entrepreneur, and he also now is our sponsor from Visa at Thai, and Visa was the single largest sponsor that we had for this year's ThaiCon. And all of you know about ThaiCon, okay? And if you I just want to mention one thing, and kudos goes to the entire ThaiCon team and the Thai organization. We have been ranked among the top 10 best conferences in the world for ideas and entrepreneurship. We're in the same league as the World Economic Forum and the TED conferences, okay? So all of you, just make sure that you continue to be proud of your organization and you continue to support this organization. Just a very quick show of hands. How many people are here just for the first time at Thai? Okay, so that's like about 3%. I think we can remedy that situation, okay? Because you're going to be now coming back, for the second time, third time, and time again, because this is one of the wonderful organizations. I just said we just had a little preview with Rita, and we had a very interesting kind of conversation. She has one of the most coveted jobs that she's got because she gets to go around the world, and her official title is the Special Representative in the Office for Global Intergovernmental Affairs. Okay, it's a big job, but she covers in her role she covers all of Asia, all of Latin America, all of Africa, Haiti, and Iraq. And the BRIC nations is one of the very, particular focus for her. So she's very well, from the little conversation we had, and I think she's going to kind of, include in her remarks. I mean, she's super well versed. Trained as a lawyer, brilliant lawyer, worked in the Clinton administration, and then she also worked at the U.S. Department of Commerce. So she also has business background. She also worked on the Obama-Biden transition team. So she brings the holistic view of the world, okay, from business to policy as well as legal matters. I know we get some of your lawyers in the office, in the audience. So this is really wonderful that she done. So without much further ado, because she had to catch a red eye, she and Rhonda both. And we're just so delighted you could come. So I'd just like you to just make your official remarks, some comments, and then we're going to just open it for questions. And nothing is basically off topic. But if she chooses not to answer, that is her prerogative. Okay.
It's called the diplomatic thing. Well, yes, as Vish said, I just want to make some few comments, and then we want to open it up to questions, because really the whole purpose of being out here is to hear and listen and talk to all of you. So first I want to thank Vish for a great introduction. I always say I need to take these people around with me because I think they can explain a little bit more about what I'm doing sometimes than I can. And we want to express our gratitude to Carl and to Karen for their assistance and support of the visit that we have in Silicon Valley. As many of you have met one of my deputies, I have two directors in my office. Rhonda Binda is here with me. She also is a trained lawyer and actually a technology lawyer. And she has started with me last year when the Secretary launched this effort. And also, as Vish said, I have a keen awareness of working with the private sector because we have totally been in support of working with business during our transition stage. But now that we're past that and we are on to these types of experiences that we've had in the State Department, I want to just kind of share with you a little bit about the work that we're doing and to talk to you about why we're really here. You know, I'm delighted to have the opportunity to visit Silicon Valley as a leading hub for high-tech innovation and development. You know, President Obama, by his mere presence again today, recognizes the importance of this dynamic region. And so, as you all know, he's returning to the Bay Area this week for his second visit in just 1 month. So we want to thank Ty, not just for hosting the event, but for your commitment to the advancement of entrepreneurship around the world. Through mentoring, networking, and education, Ty, indeed, each and every one of you as members here this evening, provide a platform on which people with an entrepreneurial spirit can come together to share ideas. And so as I have learned from some of you earlier, you know, being in having 57 chapters and in 14 countries, I mean, that is really, truly tremendous. And I will tell you, as I have moved around the world in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, and meeting with our American chambers, and in India, say specifically with CII and FICCI that I know so many of you are aware of, and with our Indo Chamber and our U.S. Business Councils and our U.S. American Chamber of Commerce Abroad, I now realize now where I go, I need to check to make sure that they have a Thai chapter that I need to also make sure I work with. It is our hope today to be able to explore with you strategies for using modern technology to build state and local capacity in working with Asia, Africa, and Latin America and the emerging economies around the world. In the role as the Secretary of Special Representative, one of the things that she has made clear is that foreign policy and diplomacy goes way beyond nation to nation. And that is now the time has come that we must engage all of our strength and all of our power and all of our leaders. And when she said all of our leaders, she says all of our state and local leaders are included in that and their subnational counterparts abroad. And so in creating that office, that has really been my mandate. How do we, from a peer-to-peer perspective, engage with our United States state and local leaders, everyone from our governor, our mayor, and county officials, and on down, our legislators and speakers and whatever, with their counterparts around the globe in the pursuit of all of the work that we're doing in our foreign policy. We understand very fully that in that engagement, that work that we are doing with them will always continue to strengthen our bilateral relationships between our nation. The Department of State has reached out in our pursuit to develop the capacity of these countries in the work that they're doing with their subnational counterparts. And we're always searching for low-cost, innovative solutions for sharing best practices that can improve growing global networks between elected state and local officials in the United States and their foreign counterparts. We seek to sustain and maintain these linkages. As well as with peers, we understand that the maintaining and sustaining of these linkages really oftentimes is about one or two main issues. It really is focused on trade and development as well as on the strengthening of their economic ties. You no doubt understand how the world of the 21st century is rapidly changing. We are increasingly linked and transformed by new technologies, rapid increases in trade and financial flows, and the rapid proliferation of innovation and competitive companies. All of these changes generate tremendous opportunities for expanded trade, investment, and job creation here in the United States and around the world. Just recently, if many of you were following Secretary Clinton, she recently delivered a major speech at the Economic Club in New York last week, where she called and talked about economic statecraft and how we use diplomacy to strengthen our economy at home and how we use economic tools to strengthen our diplomacy abroad. She has sent formal instructions to every American diplomatic post around the world, highlighting the need to elevate the role of economics and business in everything we do. The Secretary, she understands, and as she said, America's economic strength and our global leadership are fundamentally a package deal. The challenges of remaining competitive as a business or a nation in a more decentralized global economy seems to grow by the day, but so do the 21st century opportunities that they afford. In seeking measures to ensure economic strength at home and abroad, the Secretary relies heavy on what we call 21st century statecraft, which is a strategy for creating partnerships in all forms for achieving modern diplomatic goals. These trends point to the necessity that nations, states, and indeed the United States must aggressively cultivate subnational partnerships if we are to learn how to manage this rapid growth and learn how to sustain collaborative political, social, and economic networks if we are to make the most out of that growth. Interestingly, the process of globalization and decentralization seem to influence and impact one another, basically skyrocketing how critical it is for us to really be engaged at the state-to-state and the city-to-city and county-to-county level. Faster and cheaper international communication have allowed local experiences to be heard around the world, which means local decision makers are able to use experiences from varying regions to shape their own local policies. By President Obama and Secretary Clinton making subnational engagement a priority in this administration, the agreements that we have been able to sign in 2 short years have been a catalyst in our work of working with state and cities, not only in the U.S., but in engaging their counterparts as governors and mayors and legislators around the world. These efforts, while principal pillars of 21st century American diplomacy, are not about imposing the will of one country onto another, nor is it about boasting particular nations and their cities as the pioneers of global best practices in urban management. We know that the next chapter of economic growth is going to include not just cities in America, but in China, Brazil, India, and the other 10,000 other cities and states that are on the rise. As a recent Economist entry stated, cities rather than states are becoming the islands of governance on which the future world order will be built, which is why the clarion call of subnational engagement that Secretary Clinton has had me lead, stems from the fact that it can empower us to help each other with trade, investment, the creation of jobs, the education of our children, and solving the problems we all share. This new world is not and will not be one global village so much as it will be a network of different ones. These trends are precisely why the United States has launched partnerships with subnational entities in China and India and Brazil and the BRIC countries to enhance our global competitiveness, to gain more of an exchange of cultural understanding, and to adapt to the globalizing decentralization that has accelerated much of these 2 countries' growth, especially in places like China and India and Brazil. Just last week, we facilitated, in conjunction with Embassy Beijing, the reciprocal visit to China of a delegation of 6 U.S. governors. The National Governors Association and the Chinese People's Association for Friendship with Foreign Countries co-hosted this successful event, which brought together U.S. governors, 6 Chinese governors, and 2 Chinese Party secretaries and the mayor of Beijing to discuss topics of mutual interest, including trade and investment, job creation, entrepreneurship, and economic development. The U.S.-China Governors Forum, which was established by the U.S.-China Memorandum of Understanding signed during Chinese President Hu's state visit to the United States in January, serves to strengthen cooperation at the subnational level. And that's why it was so important as a follow-up to Secretary Clinton's participation in the 2011 U.S.-India Strategic Dialogue. That was another one of our BRIC countries that we wanted to totally focus on. I have traveled throughout not only China, Brazil, and India, South Africa, and others this summer to promote recently our state-to-state engagements. And just recently this summer was traveling around in Brazil. Not only did I visit New Delhi and Mumbai, but I went to the states of Assam, Orissa, Kerala, Chennai, and Nagpur, and Andhra Pradesh. We visited these Indian cities and states to meet with local government, chief ministers, business and academic leaders to discuss, yes, trade and investment, infrastructure, education, science, and technology issues. We understand that the further we broaden and deepen these relationships, the more we need to engage and bring into play the skills and energies of partners beyond our central and federal government. We need to build upon these subnational agreements, building greater understanding than we are able to conceive now, and to force a nexus of community and business development and technology to be the intersection where we begin paying attention and start learning from and start investing in. I am certain that each of you have an in-depth knowledge of your community and the culture in which you work. You have greater latitude to experiment with different approaches and the flexibility and adaptability to try out these different approaches. We know that the challenges we all face cannot be solved with a one-size-fits-all approach, but by combining our strengths, governments and philanthropic organizations, we can more than double our impact to assist these subnational leaders to no end. We understand that the multiplier effect will continue if we add business, entrepreneurs, NGOs, university, faith communities, and other individuals to the same table. That is the power of a partnership at its best, allowing us to achieve so much more together than we could do apart. So in that spirit, that is why I'm here today. We're eager to engage with you in dialogue on how we use technology, innovation, and development in this new generation of public-private partnerships. We're eager to harness the rich talents in this region to expand the department's existing partnership. When Secretary Clinton became Secretary of State, she recognized that the traditional architect of our statecraft, the way in which we organize ourselves to fight the Cold War, for example, no longer applies in the 21st century. And what she has done is to bring a team of innovators to help her steward her vision for maximizing the potential of technology and pursuing our domestic goals. The Department of State has adapted our statecraft by reshaping our development and diplomatic agendas to meet old challenges in new ways and deploying America's great asset, which is innovation. This is truly 21st century statecraft, complementing traditional foreign policy tools with newly innovative and adaptive instruments of statecraft that fully leverage the network, technologies, and demographics of our interconnected world. And Silicon Valley is indeed a unique place that builds and creates these new networks and methods on which we rely. Following the January 2010 earthquake in Haiti, the Secretary utilized mobile phones to help deliver emergency aid and relief to victims of the tragedy. Through the Text Haiti efforts, the State Department created the largest mobile donation that the United States has seen at that time. Partners for a New Beginning is yet another example of a successful public-private partnership that I know some of you in this room participate in. Announced in April of 2010, Partners for a New Beginning is a partnership between the department and a coalition of private sector and entrepreneurs and civil society leaders who have answered President Obama's call to join our outreach to Muslim communities around the world. The Partners for a New Beginning initiative focuses on building partnerships to promote economic opportunity, foster advances in science and technology, enhance education opportunities, and be a catalyst for exchanges. These types of programs tap into how dynamic and innovative our U.S. industries have always been in multiple ways, often with the use, of course, with modern technologies. And finally, as another example, through Secretary Clinton's Civil Society 2.0 initiative, the State Department has built the capacity of civil society and has been working on that around the world. Civil Society 2.0 programs assist non-governmental organizations to use new digital tools and technologies to increase the reach and impact of their work. We believe that more can be done. So we are here and eager to hear your ideas on possible partnerships on how to utilize technologies to work with our state and local leaders and their counterparts abroad to build sustainable platforms that will live way beyond us. We need to understand how that is done, and we want to be able to work with all of you. And with those comments, we'll be able to take questions. Thank
you. I'm just going to get her started with a couple of questions, and then I want you guys to think of your questions. We'll take about 10 questions from the audience. So we can take a question. We have mics around us on both sides. And wait till the mic comes to you and just state your name, and then you can have the question so we can make sure that we can take care of the question. So, just wonderful remarks, okay? I'm sorry. Thank you. See, Mike didn't come to me. Just wonderful remarks. Thank you very much. So we are here, you know, you said you came here to just engage us. We're going to engage you in a dialogue. Of course, you could not have chosen a better place because this is the center of technology. So, we supply technology to the world. And when it comes to California, we also feed the world and also we entertain the world. So this is, this is one of the three biggest American exports, all happens in Silicon Valley and California. So welcome. So one question that comes up, since you're talking about, working with, other countries and other governments, so we also have two other organizations within our government. Okay, one is the Department of Commerce, the other is the U.S. Trade Rep. So how do you collaborate with them, and how does so who's on first in that regard? And
who's on first? Well, the person that's on first is President Obama. But one of the things that President Obama, I think, set the tone in working with all of us in our agencies, and Secretary Clinton has truly embodied that, is that through our what we call our U.S. country dialogues, strategic dialogues. So we have one, of course, with the BRIC countries, and let's just take example, say U.S. India. Strategic dialogue. I work very closely with our bureau team, Assistant Secretary Blake, who has been a big champion in the work that we're doing because he truly understands the power of these types of relationships. To further that, we work in what President Obama has called a whole of government approach in the Obama administration, such that with efforts like we have launched, that the Secretary has had us launch at the State Department, is that we do work very collaboratively with the Department of Commerce and our Select USA. We work very collaboratively with our United States Trade Representative, our Trade Development Agency. We work with also the OPIC, the World Bank, the Exim Bank, and all of the other multilaterals too that even surround that type. If one of the things that we have seen in 2 short years is that all of these institutions, separate from just in our federal government teams, have launched subnational strategies. So everyone is getting into the act. They understand that a lot of the implementation of all of the work that we're doing is taking place at the state and local level. So we are always collaborating. When we've launched efforts like on our state-to-state engagements in the countries that I have traveled in, we are always looking at our embassy. Our ambassadors are central to the work that we do. So not only working with our bureau chief, but also in the country of which we're traveling. We work very closely with the ambassador and the consulates, and within that, it's a one-stop shop. And that's one of the things that we're really trying to educate our leaders on in terms of being more impactful as their delegations are traveling. And so not only do we work with and being very strategic, because these are the regions we work in, but we have to drill down into specific targets of country focus. But we work very closely with the political and economic teams in all of those embassies, and then in the United States with their ambassadors. So in other words, if I'm traveling, I always will be meeting with we have a brand new ambassador from India, the DCM, or her DCM and their economic teams. We work very closely with them to understand what it is that they're trying to do, because our ambassadors, both of them, whether it's our ambassador or the country's ambassador, they are working jointly all the time on issues and problems and coming up with solutions. And we want to be in lockstep with the work that they're doing to support the work that as we move around those particular countries.
Thank you. So speaking of the embassy, so one of the things that's happening, especially because the U.S.-India corridor is super active, a lot of business people are traveling, a lot of students are traveling, and one of the, since you talk about capacity building, part of your objective in the nations, so the capacity of the U.S. Embassy and the consular offices, okay, I think right now seems to be constrained, sort of strained, I guess. And one of the initiatives, the San Francisco Bangalore Sisters Committee, actually Kumar Malavali and Shivram, they both are on that committee. There's a movement that started, and actually Sergio, you met also from Reed Smith, he's on the committee. So they're trying to encourage, our government to open maybe another consular office in Bangalore, because there's so much traffic going on and visas being held up for businesses and other people. So, you have any thoughts on that? How are you?
I always get the visa question. And I always answer to say that there's people that's much smarter than me in our consular affairs that handle those things. But I will tell you that most of the visas that are issued in our Indian consulate come to people from India. So we start, with that as a backdrop. As all of us are in strange, in economic times where there are strains on budgets. And so one of the reasons that Secretary Clinton, as you hear her talk over and over from the very beginning of her tenure, is the fact that that's why partnerships and public-private partnerships are so important. Now, we can't do things in a 19th century way, we got to do them in a 21st century way. And that means in terms of bringing in more people and getting them to assist in the work that we do, because countries the world over are all grappling with the same kinds of issues.
So with the $3 billion that the State Department, rakes in as visa fees, actually this is one of the most, that is one agency that is truly a profitable agency, okay, of our government, okay, because I think the cost is a lot less than the income. So anyway, that was one of the input that we have, that maybe something could be done, because we hear that quite a lot, and that because of just again you don't have enough consular services. And so people from Bangalore are going, and Bangalore is a kind of Silicon Valley of India. So
I'm going to leave that to my assistant. I'm going to leave that to my assistant secretary. We'll take that one back.
Yeah, because it is a truly good business venture. Okay, so let me see if I can. Tim. Okay, you have a mic coming to you. Could you please bring a mic to Tim? Yeah.
Thank you. I'm Tim Harris, and first of all, I'd like to thank Ty for once again fostering entrepreneurship by providing this type of program. Certainly, I applaud the efforts of President Obama, Hillary Clinton, and the State Department and yourself. These are very admirable, focused efforts on your part to really link the world, the globalness together. What would you say are the major obstacles to us being to accomplish that goal?
One of the things we always say is that there's with state and local governments having in these types of economic times and cutbacks on all types of programs and projects, and we always say, instead of having pushback when people are talking about why a leader at the state and local level is traveling abroad, or why are they even entertaining visitors that come to their own city and state, we say instead of pushing back, instead of sitting back, you need to push back, and you need to educate. And we have to educate the communities about how one community is totally connected to another, and how it does foster, it can foster very successful relationships that will lead to results for not only the state itself, but for the citizens that are in that state. One of the things that we have seen is that diaspora communities are very important throughout the world, not just India, but throughout the world, in helping educate community leaders, community, and their own community as to why it's important to be engaged in the work of what we're doing from a trade and investment, supporting exports, or whether it is about even down to the sharing of best practices. So we find that we can't allow money to be the reason why people cannot engage, because technology is now here, and everybody is in touch with each other at the drop of as they say, all you gotta do is press send. And so as you being out here, what is important for me to understand is, as we know that leaders, whether it's on our leaders or leaders from abroad, cannot travel all the time. They can come once a year, once every 2 years. But when the time does happen, and actually prior to the time happening, so much work has to go on. And the private sector and entrepreneurs and the diaspora communities have been some of the driving forces behind that work, and making sure that a leader achieves a result when they come, meaning the signing of those MOUs, the signing of a contract, the signing of a relationship development between universities or whatever. And so that's why we know that technology and the platforms that you all have or can imagine that we need to employ will be so important. And so being here is really all about trying to find out And we've met with, I've been here for a couple of days, and the realities of the types of people that many of your members, Sabine, your Hotmail founder, we've been to LinkedIn, we've been with Carl at PlaySpan, now Visa, working with Visa. We've been here at Thai and talking to Vish and others. And we've met with entrepreneurs who are telling us that you all have been thinking about additional tools, and now we're understanding that those tools can be adapted so that peers at the state and local level can talk to each other.
Nandini, wait till mic comes to you. Your mic. Oh, good.
Thank you. So first of all, thanks Vish for hosting such a interesting, and it's great to see you again, Rita, especially that we met at the historic moment when Secretary Clinton had chosen to empower women in the finance. So I wanted to build on the question the gentleman just posed to you. In your travels, what role do you see women playing in ensuring, just like yourself and Secretary Clinton is making sure that we strengthen the relationship and commerce, what role do you see women playing in different parts of the world? Thank you.
Thank you for that. And yes, we were together in San Francisco just recently at the APEC summit. And for the very first time, there was a ministerial level meeting where members of the APEC countries came around to come together to talk about pushing an agenda about the empowerment, not of just women, but also about the issues surrounding women and girls. I will tell you that in the travels that we see, whether you're here in the United States or others, it is always a delight when I deal with my women elected officials, my governors, my legislators, my mayors, and of course, there's not enough of them. You go abroad, not enough of them. But I will tell you that it has been a delight when I have sat with private sector organizations, say for instance like in India, where you have the CII or the FICCI or the U.S. India Business Council, and the women and even the men in the room have talked about the fact, and say India specific, whereby now there's new laws on the books that women are getting a third and a half of the seats and empowered in the panchayats. And so we have gone to those communities and we've met with those women, and those women are very, very powerful. And they're not just talking about themselves. They're talking, first they start out talking about just empowering the woman and what could the woman do maybe for her family. Now they're talking about what can the woman do for her community. And in those conversations, the women are talking about what they can do for their nation. So we know that that dialogue that is taking place out there, here in the U.S., that has gone on for years, and now that it's so aggressively taking place with Secretary Clinton at the helm of that, when she puts it front and center in all of the work that all of us do, that there should be more efforts put forth in that, and that lead to very positive results for women and girls. And so we're really delighted. We talk all the time about how we get more women on programming. We want to make sure that their point of view, not because they're a woman, but because they too are in the leadership roles in these communities, and we want to hear what their opinion. And so we value everyone, everyone's opinion. And so when we go into these countries, we always spend some time on those particular types of networks, because they like to engage with so many of the officials that at the State Department and others who also sometimes happen to be women.
Thank you. Speaking of women, and since you mentioned panchayat, so one of these, the Indian woman, actually she's pretty young, from Rajasthan. She was here in quite a story in America, because she's a sarpanch, which is the head of the panchayat, Harvard MBA, and she decided to go and be a 35-year-old woman, and quite a sensation, very articulate, very bright. So India is kind of leading the way in a big way, and of course India's president is a woman, as you know, very well, and the head of the Congress party also is a woman. So yeah, India has a long tradition of putting women in power, so that's good. Yeah, thank you.
I met with some of those women in India.
You have a question?
Chief Minister. Yeah.
Oh, you get a mic to Kumar, please? Oh, Farhad, oh, sorry, Farhad, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't see you.
Thank you for visiting us. The question I had to do with the Middle East, given the Arab Spring and given all of the changes going on, and I also do know that Secretary of State has been very active in the Middle East. What's your group doing with respect to that, and how, if you were interested, could help with that area?
I'm sure all of you know the department's position on that, and as you said, Secretary Clinton has been very active. Just recently, when our Bureau of Education and Cultural Affairs have brought visitors who have been leaders at the state and local level to Washington so that they move them around the United States to engage with their peers, we have participated with a number of officials from that region. That has really been the extent of the work that I have done, but there are so many others in the State Department who do that on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you. Kumar, thank you.
My question is, what you are doing is very admirable to bringing the nations together and also encouraging the entrepreneurship, not only in the United States, but globally as well. And towards that, I would like to ask you, what are the metrics? How do you know you succeeded in your efforts? What are the metrics? And also, just a side remark, then we've been working closely with Thai on cross-border entrepreneurship. That is because the world is flat right now, and then so that we can build a virtual enterprise, and where the resources might come from the United States, the talent may be in India, vice versa, and the funding may come from different sources. So, in other words, eventually our goal should be creation of wealth. So, from that point of view, how can you measure the results?
You know, that is exactly why we are out here talking with all of you. One of the things that we have seen in the work that I do, which is truly focused at the subnational, state-to-state level, and how we have begun to measure success is that where is the acceptability of our nations coming together to want us to all have a focus on that particular, in that particular arena. And so that's one of the reasons why we work very closely with our strategic dialogues and the bureaus who run those strategic dialogues, which brings together all of government together, focusing in what we call working groups. We understand success when we've been very fortunate that in, say, President Hu's visit with President Obama, in President Dilma's visit with President Obama, in places like that, that in the deliverable of the president, they have actually had in there that areas that we want to work. It's always about areas that the country is focused on and agreeing upon. And we were very fortunate that, especially in those two particular places, that the work of subnational engagement and the support of that has made its way into those particular documents. When you can get that, we truly understand that the nations themselves place importance on that work. That does not stop us from just just waiting around for an MOU. These visits that take place with these delegations happen every day somewhere in the United States, or United States traveling abroad. What we also have looked at is the increase of visits. For instance, let's say in China, in 2010 we had 8 governors visit. Since in 2 years we have seen that double. In one time alone I had 6 just last Thursday. I just came from China on Thursday. Before I made my way here, to be able to encourage 6 United States governors to go to China on a reciprocal visit as a delegation to focus on issues of trade and investment and job creation and energy and environment and issues like that, and education, was very impactful. And so both of our nations supported that continuation of that effort. And so that's one of the reasons why we're continuing to drive relationships with other BRIC countries, as well as with some of the emerging countries. But in terms of a matrix, sustainability of this is going to be critical. if this can go on way beyond anything that we're all doing now. And that to me is going to be one of the larger measures of success. And we need technology to assist us in putting some tools together so that these relationships can continue to live on. Even beyond when the elected official in this country or abroad is no longer in those offices, because it's people. It's the people that drives these. And so right now we need to understand how do they link up, how do they tie up, how do they keep these conversations going beyond I came and had a visit as governor or secretary or attorney general or whatever, and then I left, and then what happened? Even though we did sign agreements, we know that when the business deal is signed, that definitely lives on because people begin to do their work and continue to engage. How does the relationship between our peers who are at that state and local level live on? And so we want to hear from you about different platforms that you think would be important for that.
Yeah, I mean definitely, because given that this position was is very recent, just created last year, so actually in a true spirit of ties, it's really like in a startup phase, Kumar. So maybe it maybe take some turns and maybe some matrices will become firmed up as you move forward. But based on what you described, I think you're doing a just wonderful job. Buck, you have a question there? You got a mic?
Yeah, I'm Buck G, and as Kumar said, the world is flat, particularly in Silicon Valley. The supply chain is flat. So I'd like to hear your perspective on the likelihood of a trade war with China.
I'm going to leave that to the Assistant Secretary. I will tell you, as we said in China just last week during the Governors Forum, America is open. We're open for business. And as the President and the Secretary says in all of their conversations, that our relationship with China is very, very important. And we're going to always be, this is an administration that has held numerous meetings, not just with the Secretary of State, but with all of our departments being engaged in what we call our U.S.-China strategic dialogue. And when we've seen them there in China and when they've been here in the United States, what you're constantly seeing is that, yes, there are going to be issues that we're not going to agree on, but the ones that we do agree on, we have to keep working on those and continuing to build our relationship. And so that's why we were so delighted to see the state visit that took place here in the United States. And if you look around and as you continue to see on the news, there are just numerous visits up and down departments of officials from the secretary level on down that are constantly in and working with these countries. So you see our agriculture secretary, our commerce secretary, education, energy, EPA, defense, NASA, everyone is working. I participated in those strategic dialogues, and when you see the United States and the full force of the officials that are there participating and working through issues, working through coming up with solutions, agreeing, disagreeing, but yet all about one thing. It is about continuing to move both of our relationships and strengthen and continuing to make our relationship strong. It is really a sight to behold when they also bring the officials from there that mirror the ones on our side. And you see the strengthening of those relationships will only be continued if we are to continue to engage. And this is an administration that has set a high priority on at this era of being the era of engagement.
Prakash?
Hi, my name is Prakash Agarwal. Another controversial question. It has to do with the UN Security Council permanent membership for India. About 9 years back, Senator Kerry, when he was running, this group actually asked him what are his views. In his own words, he said it's a no-brainer. And it's 8 or 9 years have gone by since then. We really don't hear much about it. So my question to you is, what are the obstacles? And what's being done, or what more can be done? And just your views on it.
Well, I will tell you that is like not in my purview. All I can say to you is that as it relates to the U.S.-India strategic dialogue that is led by Secretary Clinton and our Assistant Secretary that has the primary focus in Southeast Asia, again, I say the same thing. I've sat and witnessed the strategic dialogue conversation that brings together all of our U.S. strength that mirrors the people that the country of India brings, and that we're all continuing to work forward in one goal. And I think, as President Obama said, the U.S.'s relationship with India is going to be indispensable as we move forward in the 21st century. So what I have seen in terms of joining this administration is that truly it is an era of engagement. And that engagement has taken place way beyond even just the BRIC countries. It is across the globe, and it is much more dynamic than anything that I've seen in my lifetime. And just very proud to be a part of that and to be working for a secretary who has logged more hours, more meetings, more visits than any secretary in the history of the United States, to go out and engage her colleagues around the world on just a whole host of issues that confront America.
Thank you. Bhargav, you got a question? Yeah.
Yeah, hi. My name is Bhargav Sri Prakash, and it's a real honor to hear you. And I'm actually a technology entrepreneur. We make social games for education, and we're actually in the midst of a really exciting project for Education USA in partnership to create a cutting-edge social game to recruit international students to America. And this is something that's really close to my heart because I was an international student not too long ago, and so it feels like I've come full circle. And we're really excited about this because it sets the bar in ways that's never been done before. But my question really is coming to something that still tears my heart when I see the messaging that we're building in some ways that recruits international students to the U.S., but ultimately requires them to go back. And being in Silicon Valley or in the technology mecca of the world, where we're trying to attract the best talent and educate them and train them, and then require them to go back, it seems like we're losing a lot of talent. And as much as I'm really excited about what we're doing with the State Department, I wanted to hear your thoughts about it.
It's a skilled visa question.
Sorry about that.
I'm going to take that question and put it in another manner. It's typical State Department diplomatic speak. One of the things that we recognized about, say, students, is that right now, India has 100,000 studying in the United States. We have 3,000 studying in India. And that's why the State Department with India, State Department in conjunction with our educational institutions launched what we call Passport to India. It's not just about college students, it's about any student. And it's not just about students, it's also about researchers. It's about people who do research and development. Just a couple of weeks ago, India and the United States launched the first ever U.S.-India Education Summit, of which Secretary Clinton spoke at and the Minister of Education from India came to. I participated in that, and I will tell you from the highest level in our government, meaning Secretary Clinton and the highest officials in India, participated and brought over, I think between U.S. and India, it was about 300 plus odd individuals. And the private sector was very, very paramount in that conversation. Of course, these issues are always going to come up, and all I can tell you is that there are people in our bureaus that are working on these issues every single day. But one of the things that's very important to us is that not only do we want to, we as a country are open, but we want to see our best and brightest also get an opportunity to go and experience and develop those relationships that are going to be long-lasting in their lives. 3,000 to 10,000 to 100,000, that's no match. And so with Passport to India, what we would do is appeal to entrepreneurs and executives and nonprofit organizations that sit out here in this room. I appeal to you to assist us at the department and assist those universities in getting our young people over to India to study, travel, and to be able to participate and develop ties and relationships that are going to be long-lasting in their careers.
Wonderful, thank you. I think there's a question back there, please.
Yes, my name is Harry Bims, and my question is about Latin America and what the State Department is doing down there. A few weeks ago, Secretary Clinton spoke at the America's Competitiveness Forum in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, and she expressed the desire for the State Department to help countries throughout Latin America increase their global competitiveness. And so my question is that, my personal experience working with President Fernandez is that countries down there are really looking to the United States to help them understand how to make that transition, how to become innovative, how to foster entrepreneurship in their economies. And so my question is, what role can